In order to check up on Captain's turn, the trio would return to Slateport City, where they would see him talking to fans about his amazing inventions and stuff like that. And then they would hear voices coming from inside the harbour. Ash, Flannery, and Bruno would say, "That is Team Aqua!" in unison. And then Captain Cell would be like, "Oh, come on, not them again. What are they doing now?" And then they would see Archie and his admin, who I forgot the name of. Archie and his admin will say, "Ha ha ha ha, we are going to steal your submarine and go into our underground cavern in Lily Cove City. I mean, near to Lily Cove. There is no way you can find us now. Ha 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 ha." And they would have just given away the location, and then the trio would think, "So their base is in Lily Cove. Whatever they're doing, we need to go stop them." And Captain Star would say, "No, don't take my submarine." But before he could finish his sentence, the duo would have already jumped into the submarine and gone. Captain Star would say, "I guess you guys have to go and find them. If you need any diving gear to dive down and find the underground cavern, you need to come here and get our diving to get our diving gear. Alright?" And then the trio would nod and say, "We understand." After that, they would also go to the hideout, which the admin also mentioned, and they would battle. A Team Macro grunt. Ash would send out his Hound Hour, which would easily defeat the grunt's Puchiana. And then the female grunt showed up and used her own Puchiana, which was also defeated with ease. After that, two grunts, both female, one male and one female, would jump the two. Valerie would send out her Blaziken, and Ash would use his Houndoom. Both of them would blast each other. Both Blaziken and Houndoom would blast Puchiana and Zubat respectively with a flamethrower, knocking both Pokemon out. And then the duo also sent out Zubat and Carvana, and then Blaziken would double kick Carvana. Meanwhile, Houndoom would use its powerful flamethrower on Zubat, knocking it out. And then then they would encounter another grunt, another pair of grunts, one female, one male. They would send out Carvana and Zubat respectively. Blaziken would use double kick on Carvana. Meanwhile, Houndour would use feint attack on Zubat. After that, Ash would make his way around and he would find the admin, Matt. Yeah, I finally remember his name, for God's sake. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then Ash would send out his Houndoom. Meanwhile, Matt would send out his Mightyena. Even though the mighty hyena Pokemon was powerful, the Flaming Hound defeated it. After that, Matt would send in his Golbat. Golbat would use a Sludge Bomb, but then Houndour would jump above and would use a powerful Fire Blast, obliterating Golbat with ease. And then Matt would send out, and then Matt would return his Zubat and would say, wow, now I'm going to go to the hideout in and down below in the now I'm gonna go to the underground cavern down below near the Cove City, like I stated earlier. Let's see if you can find it. And then Matt would jump into the submarine and leave. After that, Trio would make their way back to Moss Deep City, where Ash would heal his Pokemon, same with Flannery, and then they would go and then the wait, what's his name again? And then the black belt would say, do you want to teach your do you have a Pokemon which I can teach Dynamic Punch? I should say, oh yeah, I have my Hariyama. And then the guy would smile and would say, yeah. Now, Hariyama, you put all your power into one punch and you hit your opponent with the punch. This punch can confuse the opponent with the force of the punch. Understand? And Hariyama would nod. And it would use it on the nearby tree. And even though trees can't get confused, it will be broken. And Ash would say, alright Hariyama, that's a success. And then the black belt would offer Flannery the same offer, but Flannery would say, no, a move like that isn't Blaziken's style. And Blaziken would rather use kicking moves than use punching moves. And then, after the training with Hariyama, Brandon would walk out of the gym and say, hey, Ash, how are you? And then would say, hey, Loser Ketchum, what are you doing here? Here to get your 7th badge. Oh wow. Oh wow, those twins were so easy, I didn't even lose a single Pokemon. It was so easy. Wow. Wow, Ash. It won't be like last time. How many Pokemon do you have? I'm gonna destroy you. And Ash would say, oh, I have 6 Pokemon. And then Brother would smile. Oh, I have 6 Pokemon as well. Now finally, it's gonna be a 6-on-6. You only won the last battle. You only drew with me from luck. I'll show you who's boss. And then the battle will commence. Ash would send out his Houndoom, while Brandon would send out his Mightyena. And they would say, oh, so you visited the Safari Zone. So I see you're desperate as ever to try catch up to me. Ha. Losers like you could never catch up to chads like me. Ha 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 ha. Brother would laugh at Ash, thinking that he's far superior to him. Ash would say, I'll show you. Alright, Mightyena. Alright, Houndoom. Show it who's boss. Use your flamethrower. And then the well-trained Mightyena would dodge just in time. I would use a crunch. Despite not being very effective, Houndoom would use a fire blast, which would knock out Mightyena. And then Ash would say, good job, Houndoom. And the brother would say, you just got lucky. Alright, go out Crawdaunt. And side note, this team is completely different to Brendan's original team. Do you know why? Because Brendan became a different person after all this stuff. And he became desiring of more different Pokemon. Even though he still got his canonical starter Sceptile, he would have different Pokemon. He would want different Pokemon. So he has different Pokemon. And then Brandon would say, I also caught this Pokemon at the Safari Zone. Alright, Crawdont, use Crab Hammer. Alright, Houndoom, dodge. Houndoom would dodge. Use Fire Blast. And then it would hit Crawdont, doing decent damage. But then Crawdont will come out from the smoke and would catch Houndoom off guard with a Crab Hammer, knocking it out. Ash would say, you did well. Now return. Alright, go Hariyama. And then Brother would say, oh wow, so you finally got type matchups through your thick skull. Well, you'll see how good you are. We'll see how good you are against my Crawdont. I've trained it to resist all its weaknesses. And then Ash would say, we'll see about that. Alright, use your new move, Hariyama, Dynamic Punch. Then the Crawdont would be hit by the Dynamic Punch, confusing it. Brother would say, shake off the confusion and use a Crab Hammer. But in the end, yeah, it would be hurt. The Crawdont would damage itself, and then after that, Ash would use a Brick Break. He would command Hariyama to use a Brick Break, which would knock Crawdont out. And Ash would make a snarky comment saying, "Oh, you're not so invincible now, are you, Brendan?" And then he'd have a slight smirk, and Brendan would say, I don't need to beat you with only my Crawdont. I've got much more strong friends, and I'll show you his boss around these parts. Alright, go Swallow! Swallow would be sent out, and Ash would be adamant to keep his Hariyama inside, knowing that Hariyama would lose, but wanting to keep it in and weaken the Swallow. After that, Hariyama would use a powerful Dynamic Punch, but Swallow would dodge it with ease, with grace in its movements, and would use an Aerial Ace. This would knock out Hariyama because of the force from Swallow. Braden clearly had trained his Swallow very well. And then after that, Ash would send in his Linoon. Linoon would be ready, looking at its rival, ready to win. Linoon. Okay. Linoon would then use its Slash, which would hit Swallow. Swallow would then respond with an Aerial Ace. And then Ash would say, alright alright Linoon, use your new move which I taught you. Use Hyper Beam. And then it would hit Swallow, doing a lot of damage. Then Swallow would use an Aerial Ace, which would hit Linoon, trying it out. But then Linoon would use a Slash, knocking out Swallow. Linoon would be tired from its intense battle with Swallow, but would still battle. Linoon would use a Slash, which would do decent damage to Manectric, but then Manectric would use a powerful Thunderbolt, putting Linoon on the verge of fainting. But then Ash would know what to do. He would command for a powerful Hyper Beam. Alright, Linoon, use Hyper Beam. And then Brother would be like, alright, Manectric, use Thunder. Both attacks would collide, trying to push each other back desperately. But in the end, the tired out Linoon would choke from all the expended energy, like quite literally, like how in the I Choose You movie, Ash's Charmeleon choked when it couldn't use Flamethrower, and in the end, Manectric's Thunder would hit Linoon, knocking it out. After that, Ash would send in his Tentacruel, and his brother would say, "How smart are you to send out a water Pokemon against the electric type Pokemon? You've just become dumber, haven't you?" And Ash would say, "We'll see about that," with a slight smirk on his face. And then Ash would use a Hydro Pump. This would do decent damage. It would do decent damage. And then Manectric could use a Thunderbolt, which would be super effective. Tentacruel would withstand it. And then Ash would say, "Alright, use Double Edge." Tentacruel would have learnt this move from a bit of training Ash did in between. This would hit Manectric, knocking it out. And Tentacruel would stand triumphant. And then Brandon would say, "Wow, can't believe you pushed me this far. I thought after all my intense training I'd washed through you. It seems I've underestimated you once again. Alright, now this is one of my strongest Pokemon. Go Salamence!" And then Ash would say, "Salamence? What kind of Pokemon is that?" And then they would say, "Salamence, the Dragon Pokemon, blah 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 blah." And then after that, Ash would say, "Alright, use Hydro Pump." But the Water type move would have almost no effect on the powerful Dragon type. After that, Brandon would command for Dragon Breath. This would collide, knocking out Tentacruel. After that, Ash would send in his Crobat. And he would say, "Alright, Crobat, use Sludge." This would hit for decent damage. But in the end, the powerful pseudo-legendary would use one single fly, which would knock out Crobat with ease. Even though Crobat was strong, Salamence was just on an entirely different level with its pseudo-legendary stats. I should say, "Alright, I guess it's time to use you, my old friend. Alright, go Leron." Ash would send in his almighty starter, Leron. Leron would use a powerful Rock Slide, which would do a lot of damage to Salamence. Salamence would then attempt to use a Dragon Breath, but then the powerful Leron would dodge it and would use a powerful Metal Claw. And then after that, Salamence would catch Leron off guard with a Dragon Breath. But then Leron would use a powerful Iron Tail, smashing down Salamence, knocking it out. After that, from the experience and the effort that Leron used, it would breathe heavily and then it would glow. The Leron would become bipedal and it would grow a tail, and its top head helmet would become long and sharp, and its face would become more refined, and its entire body would become muscular and giant, and then it would finish its evolution into Aggron. I should say, "Alright, you're evolved." And Aggron would say, "Aggron." Ash would pull out his Pokedex and it would say, Aggron, the blah 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 Pokemon. Blah 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 blah. I do really not know any of these Pokedex entries, and I should say, all right, Aggron, stay in. And then I should say, all right, Aggron, well done. And Aggron would look back at Ash and would smile, and then Brandon would say, oh. So, your Leron is finally evolved. I guess it's about time. Now it's ready to face my ace, Sceptile. Alright, go Sceptile. Sceptile will be launched out of its Pokeball, and it would stare at Aggron with a look of determination and a hint of confidence. And then Aggron would glare at Sceptile with a look of determination. And Ash would say, Sceptile, that's the final evolution of Trico. Wow. Let's see its moves. I would say, this Sceptile's moves are Solar Beam, Leaf Blade, Quick Attack, and Aerial Ace. And I should say, wow, it learned Solar Beam. Now we'll see how it faces up to Aggron. Alright, Aggron, use Iron Tail. Sceptile would dodge and would hit with a powerful Leaf Blade, doing decent damage. And then Aggron would hit with a Metal Claw, also doing decent damage. And this Metal Claw would raise its attack. Then, after that, Aggron would strike with an Iron Tail. The Iron Tail would be blocked by a Leaf Blade from Sceptile, and then Sceptile would use a Leaf Blade, which would also be dodged by Aggron. And then both trainers would collide their attacks, Metal Claw and Leaf Blade, doing decent damage. After that, Aggron would command for a powerful Rock Slide, which would do decent damage. And then Sceptile would use a powerful Solar Beam, also doing decent damage. Both Pokemon would be on par with each other, or that's how it seemed. After a few clashes, Brendan Sceptile would prove to be the superior battler from all the training it had been doing with Brendan. Meanwhile, Ash barely trained his Pokemon and only taught them a few moves. And then, after that, Aggron would be a bit overpowered by the Leaf Blade, doing decent damage. And then Sceptile, and then Brandon would say, oh wow, Ash. So it seems that my Sceptile is superior to your Aggron. This won't take long. And Ash would say, that isn't true. Alright, Aggron, show them who's boss and use an Iron Tail. This would actually connect, but do a lot of damage to Sceptile. But this would only serve to disadvantage Ash, as then Brandon would begin to smile and Sceptile would become coated in a green aura. Its eyes would become green, and then it would be in its overgrown ability. And Sceptile would look at Aggron with a smile on its face, the same smile Brandon had on his face. And Ash would say, alright, Aggron, don't let that phase you. It may be in its overgrow, but show it that you can still win. Aggron, Metal Claw! This would do decent damage, but then the Leaf Blade that came in response was twice the damage that had been done to Sceptile. And then after that, I should say, alright, Rock Slide! But even though Aggron used an attack, Sceptile always had a stronger answer to it. and it will proceed to use a solar beam, doing a lot of damage to Aggron. And then it will come down to a final clash. A clash between Metal Claw and Leaf Blade. This would be identical to their first battle. Both attacks will collide, but in the end, the large metal lizard thing, Aggron, would fall, fainted. I should say Aggron! He would run towards his Tartar, and Aggron would be very tired and damaged. Aggron would be injured and would need immediate Pokemon Center and would need immediate medical health care. Ash would glare at Brendan, and then Brendan would say, "Ha! That draw that we had the last battle was only a luck, Ketchum. Now that you can see that the better trainer has finally triumphed. I am Little Root's best. I am going to become the greatest Pokemon Master, and you'll be the last Pokemon Master. Number 0, because you won't even be it. I am better than you, and there's no way you can ever catch up to me, Ash." Brendan would just, and Ash would just scowl. And then Brendan would walk away, smirking at his victory. And then after that, Ash would go and heal his Aggron and his other team members. And he'll go and talk to his friends and say, "Worry, Ash, you can catch up. You can catch up and do better. Even though Brendan's currently ahead of you, you can catch up to him or even surpass him." And then, that is when something changed inside Ash. He knew what he had to do. He knew the moment he got his 8th badge, and the moment he got his 7th badge, he will begin training intensely. He will push his Pokemon past his limits, and himself past their limits. No, it's the wrong way. He will push his Pokemon past their limits, and him past his own, as a trainer. Ash would look at his friends and would say, "Thank you guys for telling me that. I really needed that after such an upsetting loss. And from now on, I'm going to train far harder than before. And I'll show Brendan who's boss around here." And both trainers would say, and then both Brawly and Flareon would say, "Wow, that's good, Ash. I guess you're going to be facing him in the Pokemon League. You need to be ready for that." I should say, "I will be ready." And then, after that, Ash would train with all of his Pokemon. They would all be teaching each other new moves. They would be working on each other. Both Aggron and Hariyama would be clashing with both Metal Claws and Dynamic Punches. Crobat and Tentacruel would both be practicing their poison moves and dealing with their secondary types, their other types, flying on water. And Lightning and Hoenn would be trying to perfect their special moves. For Lightning, it would be trying to perfect its type move, so it wouldn't get as tired. And Houndoom will be trying to perfect its Fire Blast and its physical moves like Crunch and Faint Attack. And all 6 Pokemon trying to better themselves, along with Ash, who was thinking about what he'd do. And he would remember a saying that his mom always used to tell him when he was a kid. She would say that if Ash wants to be a good Pokemon trainer, there was one thing that his father used to say: the stronger a trainer is, the stronger his or her Pokemon are. Ash would remember that saying, and he would train. He would do sit-ups, press-ups, and he would train physically with his Pokemon as well. He'll be trying to become one with each and every one of them. All 6 would train for hours and hours on end until Ash would be satisfied with his results and would say, "Alright guys, from now on, each day we'll train like this." And all of his Pokemon would smile and cheer at their trainer's decision. All 6 agreeing, knowing that they must surpass their rival, Brendan, and his Pokemon team. And then Ash would make his way to the Moss Deep City gym, where he would battle Tate and Liza. Ash would use Houndoom and Tentacruel versus Xatu and Claydol. Claydol would be damaged by a surf, by a Hydro Pump. Meanwhile, Xatu would be damaged by a powerful Crunch. Both attacks would knock out both Pokemon. Ash would smile, knowing how much stronger his Pokemon became after the training session that they did before the gym battle. And then the twins would send out Solrock and Lunatone, their aces. And Ash would say, "Alright, Houndoom, use your Crunch on Lunatone." And then Ash would say, "Alright, Tentacruel, use Hydro Pulp and Solrock." But Solrock would set up a sunny day before the Hydro Pulp would hit, weakening the Hydro Pump. Both attacks would hit both Pokemon, but Lunatone would be damaged very much, while Solrock would have its health halved because the Hydro Pump would have one hit KO'd it, but it used Sunny Day to half the power of Hydro Pump. And then both Pokemon, and then Lunatone would use a Rock Slide on Houndoom. Meanwhile, Solrock would use a Psychic on Tentacruel. They would use a series of these attacks until both Pokemon on Ash's side fainted from exhaustion, and the damage taken from the Pokemon based off of the day and night. Ash would think, guess that's another thing I need to work on, the type advantages and the type and disadvantages. The type advantages and disadvantages of my Pokemon. That's another thing I have to work on. Alright, go Aggron and Crobat. And then, in this time, Flannery would think to herself, would say, why did he send out Crobat rather than Linoon? And Broly would say, why are you asking that? And Broly would ask why, because he would think that Flannery's question would make no sense, because Linoon wouldn't do much better than Crobat would in this hypothetical scenario. But then Flannery would state that when Ash was getting his first gym badge, his Linoon defeated Roxanne's Rock-type Pokemon, and it can deal with Rock types quite well. It has a track record of that. So why not use Linoon rather than why not use Linoon and use Crobat? But little did Flannery know that Ash had trained Crobat specifically to learn a certain move. Ash would have taught it this move right after the battle with Brendan to cover some of its weaknesses and to become stronger overall. Ash would surprise everyone and would say, "Alright, Crobat, use Teal Wing." Steel Wing would hit Solrock, being super effective. This would do a lot of damage to Solrock, and it will build up the defenses of Crobat. And then Flannery would say from the stands, "Oh, I see. He taught it Steel Wing. He's trying to build up his defense and strike with power at the same time. Very smart." And then Ash would say, "Alright, Aggron, use Iron Tail." This would hit Lunatone, knocking it out. And then Ash would say, "Alright, use Sludge," which would hit Solrock, also knocking it out. Ash would have OHKO'd Lunatone and 2-hit KO'd Solrock with Crobat and Aggron. The twins would say, "Oh wow, Ash, we're quite impressed. Because of this amazing battle, take our Mind Badge." They would give Ash the Mind Badge. And then after the amazing gym battle, Ash would make his way out of the gym to reunite with his friends. And Flannery would say, "Wow, Ash, that was really smart of you to teach it Steel Wing after that battle with Brandon, to raise its defenses because of how easily that Salamence defeated it last time." And Brody would say, "Wow, Ash, really developing as a trainer. Even though it's been a short time, you have changed ever since that battle with Brendan that you had a few hours or so ago." Ash would say, "Yeah, I know that I need to earn my gym badges and go to the Pokemon League, beat him and beat everyone else there, and become the champion of Hoenn and become a Pokemon Master." That was what Ash wanted to do. And Flannery and Buddy would say, "Yeah." I'd say, "Yeah, Ash, I know you." They would both say in unison, "Yeah, Ash, we know you can do it." And then after that, they would go and heal the Pokemon. And then they would see Team Magma doing something near the space station. I should say, "Ah, not them again. Alright, go Crobat." And Ash's Crobat with one Sludge would defeat the female Grunt with her Mighty Enna. And then a male Grunt would challenge Ash to a battle. And despite having the type disadvantage, Crobat would easily overwhelm Baltoy with one wing attack, knocking Baltoy out. And after that, another Grunt would challenge Ash with a Mighty Enna. And this Mighty Enna would meet the same fate as the female Grunt's one, being defeated in one Sludge attack. After that, another Grunt would challenge Ash with his Mighty Enna, but this Mighty Enna would be a bit stronger than the others, and it would take more than just a Sludge to defeat it, but a Sludge Bomb and a Sludge to defeat it. And then after that, another Grunt would use his Numble, and Ash would use his Crobat to beat it with a wing attack. And by the way, let me just explain that the reason why Ash always uses one Pokemon in the battle with the Grunts is so he can save health with his other Pokemon and save energy with his other Pokemon and HP, and because the Grunts are weak and he can just use one Pokemon to just beat them all. And then after that, the Grub would send out Zoo Crobat's pre-evolved form, Zubat. And being an unevolved Pokemon, it will be beaten with one wing attack. Another Grub would send in his Mightyena, which would absolutely be destroyed by Crobat Sludge. And then it would faint. And then another Grub would send out his Baltoy, which would be fainted by a wing attack. And then, finally, after battling a lot of grunts, Ash and Brawly would challenge Maxie and Terrifier to a battle because Steven was too busy dealing with other stuff to come, and in this timeline he doesn't follow around Ash like he followed around Brandon or May, yeah. But Steven will play a part later in the story. After that, and then Maxie and his admin Terrifier would say, we are here in this Space Institute to go, and we are going to get the power, blah 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 blah. And after that, Ash and Brawly would battle Machoke, would battle Maxie and Tabitha. Both trainers, Ash and Brawly, would battle both Team Aqua members, an admin, and the boss of the entire thing. Ash would send out his trusted Aggron, while Brawly would send out his good friend, Machoke. Machoke would battle Mightyena, but this would be a cakewalk for Machoke, only requiring a few karate chops to defeat Mightyena. Meanwhile, for Ash, Aggron would only require a few rock slides and Karupt would be defeated. And then Maxie would send out his Karupt. Meanwhile, Terrifier would send out his Golbat. Karupt will battle Machoke, with this battle being intense. Karupt would use an earthquake, doing decent damage to Machoke. Meanwhile, Machoke would use a karate chop. This would be a battle of power and effort, until finally it will come down to one last attack from one Pokemon. And luckily, the Pokemon to move first would be Machoke, and it would use a karate chop, knocking out Karupt. Meanwhile, Aggron would use a rock slide, knocking out Golbat with ease. Maxie would then send out his Crobat, and Maxie would then send out, and then Tabitha would then send out his own Mightyena. Machoke would be preoccupied on Crobat, meanwhile Aggron would be preoccupied on Mightyena. Aggron would use an Iron Tail, doing a lot of damage to Mightyena, but Mightyena would respond with a crunch. And then all Ash would need was another Metal Claw, and Mightyena was down. Meanwhile, Machoke would be struggling with its opponent, Crobat. But then Ash would command for a rock slide, which would knock out Crobat. And then, after that, Maxie and Tabitha and the rest of Team Magma would leave, being defeated by Ash and Brawly, while the trio would reunite. Remember what Team Magma said to them. And they would pay Captain Stern a visit, and they would ask him for diving gear, knowing that they had to go and dive down into the depths of Lily Cove Ocean, whatever, and go and find that cavern and stop Team Aqua once and for all. Stern, without any protest, would give the trio the free kits of diving equipment, and then, after swimming their boat to a certain location, they would put on the diving gear, and they would find the seafloor cavern, and they would get inside the seafloor cavern. Three would explore it, looking for any Team Aqua grunts to defeat, until they could find the people who they're really after, the admins and Archie. Ash would use his Houndoom against the grunts Zubat. Houndoom would simply use a crunch, which would knock out the Zubat. And then our grunt would use his Carvana, despite having the type advantage against Houndoom. Houndoom's sheer power would overwhelm the grunt's Carvana, and Houndoom would use a Fire Blast, destroying the Carvana. And then Shelly and one of her grunts would come and battle Ash and Flannery, wanting to block them from making their way to Archie so he can execute his plan. Shelly would send out her Ace Sharpedo. Meanwhile, Ash would send out his Houndoom, and Flannery would send out her Ace Blaziken, and the grunt would send out his Mightyena. Blaziken would battle Sharpedo with a battle of powerful Pokemon. Meanwhile, Ash would battle Mightyena. Houndoom would battle Mightyena with a battle of Dark type canines. This would be an excruciating battle for both battles: Flannery versus Shelly, and Ash versus the grunts. But in the end, Blaziken would come out on top, and Houndoom would come out on top. Blaziken would finish off the battle with a Blaze Kick, its signature move, and Houndoom would finish the battle off with Fire Blast. After that, they would make their way past that area and into the main area where they'd see a sleeping Kyogre. And then Archie would show up and would say, no, there's no stopping him now, and he's going to use his red orb. But before that, he would battle with Ash, because Ash would step up to battle him. Linoon would battle Mightyena with the, I don't know what Linoon is. With the raccoon Pokemon coming out on top. And then Archie would send in his Crobat. The four-winged bat will be on par with Linoon. Both Pokemon will be trading blows, slashes with wing attacks, sludges with hyper beams. In the end, both Pokemon would be tired, and then they both hit each other with a hyper beam and a sludge respectively, knocking each other out. And then Archie would send out his Sharpedo. Meanwhile, Ash would gain the type advantage with his Hariyama. Hariyama would use a Dynamic Punch, which would confuse Sharpedo. Sharpedo would still blast Hariyama with a Hydro Pump, which would do quite a lot of damage, being a crit. But then Hariyama would finish it off with a Brick Break, knocking out Sharpedo. And then Ash would say, "Anyway, you might have beaten me, but none of that matters now. Now I shall use my red orb, and I shall turn the world, and then I will cover the world in seas, would raise it and activate it. And the three would watch as a red light would cover the entire area, and Kyogre would swim closer, being activated, but then it would jump away. And then one of Archie's communicators with his grunt would say, "Hey boss, there's an intense rain out here." And then Archie would say, "Yes, that is what is supposed to happen." But then the grunt would say, "No, boss, this is torrential, it's powerful, it's far too intense than what we predicted." And then Archie would know. And then Maxie would come with his two grunts and would say, "Archie, what have you done now? You and your dangerous plan is destroying the earth. It's not only bothering Hoenn, but the entire world." And then Archie would say, "Oh, but isn't it you who angered Groudon and sent it on in a rage? What is Groudon doing now?" And then Archie would say, "Who cares? Look at what you've done now. Let me show you." And then Ash, Flannery, Brawly, Maxie, and Archie would go outside and would see the torrential rainpour going all over Hoenn Then, and then Max would say, "Now do you see what you've done? Thanks to you, the entire world will be destroyed. You should have chased after Kyogre, because now look what it's doing to us." And then Ash would say, "Now look what you've done." And then Ash would say, "Exactly you. All you fools have caused this upon the earth. The earth is being destroyed. It's being attacked. Yeah, the earth is, in this very moment, is being destroyed. We need to save it." And then Broly would say, "Oh my God, people like you shouldn't have so much power. You should have stopped in your tracks." Now Flareon would say, "It's too late. Now we have to clean up the mess." And then Archie would feel bad and would say, and would go with Maxie, and they would say, "You three stay here. We're gonna go and fix this mess by ourselves. We are the ones who caused it." And they would leave. And then Steven would fly to the exact location and would say, "Hey, you three, what's been going on?" And Ash and Flannery and Brawny would explain the entire situation right from the beginning. And then Steven would say, "Alright, I see. The biggest and the worst of the rain is happening in Sutopolis City. Hey you, how many badges do you have?" Because Steven would recognize Brawly and Flannery as gym leaders, so he'd ask Ash how many badges he has. And Ash would say, "I have 7. And Steven would say, "You can help. Now you three need to make your way to Sutopolis." And then Steven would fly away. The trio would be stuck thinking how to get to Sutopolis, because their boat was a bit slow and they wouldn't get there on time, until Ash would come up with an idea, a smart one. But for now, that idea will not be revealed. To find out what Ash came up with and what will happen with the entire Hoenn region and the entire Earth, watch out for the next part.